Welcome back to the workbench, everyone. Today I'm going to be assembling a new passenger coach, much like this one right here. The new one is going to have a door on both sides of the cab. I'm going to try out a new color scheme, and the roof is going to be a bit longer. So follow along. Again, I've designed all the parts in Adobe Illustrator and cut them out using a laser. This time I used mat board instead of plywood like the first one. Each wall is made up of two pieces that's going to sandwich together to create relief. First thing to do is going to be to take them outside, lay them on some cardboard, and hit them with a coat of gray primer. And through the magic of cinema, we're back with primed parts. I primed these with model making primer that I picked up from the local game store. This stuff right here. It's considerably more expensive than gray primer from the hardware store, but it preserves a lot more detail as it puts out a much finer mist of paint. So if you can give it a try sometime, I recommend it. I'm going to go with a green and off-white paint scheme for this passenger coach. I'll be using Vallejo Model Air medium green, medium olive, I think it's called, and an off-white. So let's get started painting. I'm going with the off-white for the doors and around the window trim, and then the boards of the siding of the passenger coach are going to be the medium olive green. So I start off with the off-white. I'm just using a very fine brush and taking my time. I'm not overly worried about staying in the lines, so to speak, because I'll be going over the edges with the green. But I have to say that the engraved lines really help to keep the paint in place and not go over the edge of where they should be. Now I'm on to the medium olive green. And at this point, I'm thinking that maybe I want to add a third color. Something for the trim boards that are around the windows and probably the boards around the door. I'm thinking something like a golden color. So we're going to give that a try after we get through painting with the olive green. Yeah, I can tell already that I'm liking this gold, so we're going to jump ahead and get this painted. So here's one complete set of wall parts with the 3 paint combination going on. I think it's looking really good, so I'm going to see through the rest of the parts with this. I ended up adding the gold to the inner window frames, as you can see here, and I think that helps make the relief of the 2 parts really pop. So we'll carry on to the rest of the parts. Okay, we've got all the parts for the cab painted up, so we're going to set those aside, and now we're going to focus on the deck, the platform that the cab will be sitting on and that the trucks and the couplers are going to attach to. These are the two parts that I've designed for the flat car that all of my rolling stock gets built on top of. You have a deck with boards and nail holes, and then you have an undercarriage piece that accommodates an N-scale truck and two KD couplers. Now I'm gluing those two pieces together with some Eileen's tacky glue and a toothpick, and I'm using some miniature clothespins to clamp them together while they dry. Once the glue is dry, I take off the clamps and I apply a coat of matte black to the undercarriage of the platform. I have a little collection of N-scale passenger coaches that I'm cannibalizing for the trucks. So here I'm just undoing the one screw right in the center of the truck that will release it from the rest of the model. And I'm going to hang on to that hardware just in case I need it. I have a little bag of all different types of screws in case I need them, so I'll hang on to that. Now you can see just the truck, and it has its own coupler attached to it. I'm not going to need that, so I'm just going to grab a pair of nippers and shear that right off. And we're left just with the truck, ready to go. Nice and smooth. And let's attach it to our platform. I laser cut a hole in the center of the undercarriage to accommodate the screw for the truck, but I want to make sure that I've got a bit more of a pilot hole into the platform, so I'm just drilling out a bit deeper into the platform piece. Being careful to hold the sides so that I don't drill into my fingers. Been there, done that. Okay, before actually attaching the truck, I'm going to assemble my KD number 5 couplers and attach them to the deck. Now, these couplers have these little wings on the side that are sometimes used to attach them. I don't need those, so I'm going to shear those off. And here you can see how they're attached. Pretty simple, they're just held in place by the screw through the middle. Make sure not to make it too tight so that the couplers swing as they should. And then I'm ready to attach the truck. Now we essentially have a very simple flat car ready to run and ready to move on to the next steps to become the passenger carriage. Okay, now we're on to gluing together the wall pieces. For this I'm using Eileen's tacky glue and just something very pointed to apply the glue. In this case I'm using some of these, I think, Tamiya applicators that I've pulled the little puffy piece off of, but in the past I've just used a toothpick or anything like that that can spread small amounts of glue around very thinly onto the pieces. Then I'm sandwiching them together. I'm using the Eileen's tacky glue because I need a little bit of working time to slide the pieces around and make sure that they're lined up. And then I'm using miniature clothespins that I picked up at, I think, Michael's, just to hold the pieces in place while the glue cures. Now I need some glazing for the windows, so I'm cutting out a big flat piece of plastic from some packaging from another model. Then I'm going to rub it all down with sandpaper to make it kind of frosted and fogged. Once it's sufficiently frosted, I'm going to go ahead with a modeling knife and slice some strips that are the appropriate size for the windows that I need. I'm just lining up the parts so that I can use the measuring tools on my cutting mat, and then I'll cut the length here. And that's looking pretty good. Again, I'm using a very thin applicator to apply some glue to the back of the wall pieces around the window panes and the door frame, and then I'll apply the glazing that I've made. I'll also check the front for a squeeze out and use the pointed edge of the applicator to remove any glue that might have squeezed out. Alright, and the windows are looking pretty good. So we'll just take all those parts and stack them up, and I'm just going to put some weight on top of them to keep some pressure on the glazing while the glue cures up. Okay, now we can finally get on to gluing up the cab. So I'm just using the applicator to apply some super glue to the inside edges of the corners, lining up the parts and pressing them together. Occasionally I'm taking an extra deck piece that I have to make sure that the corners are square. But the glue will cure up pretty quick, so this is a pretty fast process. Next up, I'm painting some small pieces that are going to go on the front and back of the deck. We've got some little notches that the couplers will go through. Then I'll go ahead and apply some tacky glue and glue those onto the front and back of the flat car. The first roof that I cut for this project ended up being too short, so I laser cut and I'm painting a new one. Then I'm going to take the assembled cab and apply some glue to the top edges of the walls. A little bit of super glue for the corners, and then some regular glue to fill in between. And then I will take the roof and press it and hold it into place until it grabs. A little bit more super glue, and then once it grabs, I'll go to the underside and apply a little bit more to really seal it up. And finally, I'm ready to apply some glue to the deck of the flat car using some tacky glue and again some super glue in the corners, and then I will attach the cab of the passenger coach and we'll be all set. So here we have the locomotive, the new passenger coach, the old passenger coach, well, not old, but the first one, and a couple of ore cars, and a caboose. So I've definitely got to go back and do some weathering now to get it to fit the rest of the parts of the train, but I think it's looking pretty good. Thanks for watching.